Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Abigail Ellington. Only abusers thrive in abusive environments. So if you find yourself working in jobs where you're not being recognized, you do a great job, you're a hard worker, and you are completely overlooked, and everyone else gets the promotions, everyone else gets recognized, everyone else gets the good shifts, I'm here to tell you that you are not the problem, your environment is. Because only abusive people thrive in abusive environments. If you are in a job that is toxic, that has systems or policies put in place that are toxic, then it's going to reward toxicity. And so I love looking at this from a business point of view because business is not something I know a lot about, but I've been learning about it. And totally expanded my perception of reality because not a lot of people think about this in relation to jobs, but business and company values and policies are the most important thing when it comes to employee well-being, and they are what cause employees to behave the way they do. Like when you're hiring for a job, you can't just be selective and hire only good people and expect it to be a good workplace. If the policies are toxic, if you're not prioritizing the well-being of your employees, then it's going to create a toxic environment no matter who you hire. Literally no matter who you hire. And vice versa, if you hire, good people and some bad people, if the overall environment is healthy, those bad people are going to be less toxic and more healthy because the overall environment is healthy. And people succeed when their well-being is taken seriously. People perform well when their well-being is taken seriously. And what I've noticed in all abusive workplaces is that there's this freaking gaslighting that you are slow or that you aren't doing a good job when really they're putting pressure on you. They have unreasonable expectations. They don't train you right. They don't teach you right. They don't treat you with respect. They don't treat you with dignity. Yeah, of course I'm gonna be slow. Of course I'm not gonna do a good job. Like, what, humans succeed when they are supported, and duh. And so this relates to family as well, because if you find yourself in a narcissistic family system and you're like, why am I the scapegoat? Why am I the nicest person in this family? Why am I the most person in this family with the most integrity and I'm the most bullied and the most hated? Because you're in a system that rewards abuse. You're in a system that rewards toxicity. The system rewards it. But let's go back to the business part, because how do I explain this? Policies create the environment that employees work in. And specifically policies that cause competition cause toxicity. Because when you're pitting people against each other, there can be healthy competition, but a lot of jobs don't do it right. Keep pitting people against each other, you are creating a workplace that is unsafe. When you are setting high expectations for people but not supporting them, you're creating conditions that are unsafe. And for people who are already prone to toxic behavior, hurting them is going to make them even more toxic and abusive. And this is the same for if you work in a toxic, abusive workplace for so long and you tolerate it, you will become toxic and abusive. You know? You don't have to, but you can choose to. And a lot of people do choose to, because it's in order to survive in this abusive environment, you either have to be the victim or you have to be the abuser. A lot of people choose to be the abuser instead of the victim. They've been a victim for so long that they go to the abuser side. You know what I mean? And this is, I don't know what I was talking about. So yeah, you are not the problem. Your environment is. And this goes deeply into recognition. So I've gone so much of my life never being recognized for anything. Not by myself, not by others. And First of all, manipulators recognize manipulators. Abusers recognize abusers. And abusers definitely don't like people that are kind. They definitely don't like people that do a good job. They definitely don't like people that are better than them at anything. And so if you shine, if you succeed, if you're happy, and everyone around you is miserable and insecure, of course you're not going to be recognized. And like, where was I going with this with the manipulation thing? Because, oh yeah, in jobs like waitressing, for example, you can be a waitress in integrity, but a lot of waitresses are manipulative, right? So there's a way to be charismatic and fake and like pressure people to buy from you, and some waitresses do it like that, right? And especially if your company has like corporate policies where they want you to sell a bunch when it doesn't make any sense. They want you to like um just like push wine or push alcohol or like push appetizers or push desserts, and like just people don't want appetizers, like they're not attuned to their market. That is a recipe for manipulation. A system that rewards manipulation. And if you're someone that's not manipulative, but you still do a beautiful, amazing job, it makes sense that you're not going to be recognized, that you're not going to feel recognized, and that you're going to be pushed to the sidelines. And so it's like, maybe you're not failing, maybe you're not bad, maybe you're just different, and maybe you just have better values. Or not, we don't have to say better, we don't have to like judge it in that way, but you have different values than these systems. And so I noticed this with tarot videos, is that there are a lot of beautiful tarot readers in integrity that have helped me so much on YouTube, but I would say overall the system is manipulative and exploitative, where it exploits people's emotions, it exploits people's vulnerabilities, it exploits people's hope, it exploits people's like need for reassurance or trauma, and like keeps you in a like an addictive loop of like wanting more. And don't get me wrong, there are positives to, you know, making your own mistakes and moving through addictions, but overall the system I think rewards manipulation and a lack of authenticity. And I think like this is part of the reason why I don't really want to do tarot videos on this channel anymore, is because I can't just tell people their soulmate is going to come into their life, or that like really something really bad is happening, or all these things, and be fake about it, because it just doesn't feel right to me. And no shade to any tarot readers. There are so many who have made me feel so seen and understood, and who are so really good at it, and like so actually in tune and in alignment. But I think overall the system can like promote manipulation, to keep you coming back, because it's hard to build an audience with tarot, because it's easy to outgrow tarot readers. But hold on, here's what I think not enough people understand. Back to the thing about you being slow if you're being abused, is that humans work best when they are supported and treated with kindness, respect, and trust. Trust is the biggest one in this, because when you trust someone, you tell them on an energetic level, you are capable, I believe in you, you can do it. And when you distrust someone, energetically you tell them, I don't believe in you, I don't trust your capability, you're incompetent. And so, of course, when you treat people like they're incompetent and like they can't do things, first of all, they're going to feel bad about themselves. And when you encourage people feeling even more bad about themselves than they even do, you encourage group toxicity, group gossip. And another thing about workplaces is that healthy people who care about themselves don't subject themselves to workplace abuse for money. They don't. They don't. And whether you're an abuser or a victim, healthy people just don't put themselves in that situation. They put themselves first, okay? And so in abusive environments, what this means is that the abusers thrive in those environments, and the abusers stay in those environments. And we can't blame them, because yeah, so if you're wondering like why people like don't like I'm not going to name them, but there are certain systems in this world that just have a lot of toxic people, and it's because I was going to talk about like management. Like, have you ever noticed like how in like a lot of restaurants the management are like extremely manipulative or like extremely abusive or like just mean and unprofessional? It's because the system that they're working for is abusive, mean, and unprofessional, and healthy professional people are going to look for a healthy professional workplace because that's what they deserve. And that's what we all deserve, to be treated with kindness, care, and respect. Because the truth is, everyone can learn how to be a hard worker. You know what I mean? Some people genuinely just don't care and like won't try and whatever they are. But everyone has the capability of being a good worker if you trust them, if you treat them well, and if you teach them well. You know? And if they don't, then that's on them. But, we have to fix the system. And especially with like teaching and training, I had this insight today at work. If on the first days of training, the trainer is destabilizing, not good at teaching, and gives you an attitude of like this is going to be really hard and is like really negative about the job, your first impression of that position or that workplace is going to be negativity and destabilization. So the tone set for your entire workplace is negativity and destabilization, feeling like you're incapable, feeling like you can't do it, feeling like you're not good enough. And that would obviously make work awful. I don't want to work like that. So you want to set like a positive impression and a positive vibe and just like let people know like you are capable. We can do hard things. We all can. We are all capable of things that like wildly beyond our imagine. And it's really sad how like I experienced this in an abusive workplace that I quit very fast, where the toxic man, this was like another level of toxic. The toxic managers would like call the servers slow and treat the servers like crap. And all I could see was that the servers were riddled with trauma and anxiety. That's it. Like, these servers were scared as frick. People would avoid the line. They were constantly venting to me how traumatized they were on my like first days, and telling me like survival skills, like just avoid the line when this person's over there. I always use the make sure you use this POS because it's not behind the line. Don't go behind the line. And I come in for my first shifts of work and like no one is standing behind the line. And I'm like, what kind of restaurant doesn't have people like talking behind the line? Like, where is everyone? What is going on? It's because the line was freaking abusive and unsafe. It's like the servers aren't slow, the servers aren't bad servers, they are anxious. They're stressed out. And this happens when you give like too much of a workload too. Like, if you stress someone out in their job that they go to for 40 hours a week and you traumatize them and you put pressure over them, of course you're going to create abusers. Of course you're going to create chaos. Of course we're going to have a ton of people that cannot control their emotions because for 40 hours a week they're dealing with chaos and abuse. Right? Right? You know? Yeah. Abusers thrive in abusive environments. And let's go back to the family thing because like this goes into like enablers. If you don't know what a narcissistic family system is, so there are scapegoats, enablers, and usually there's like one narcissist that rules. The enablers are usually have narcissistic traits themselves. They can be like invalidating. And so the scapegoat is usually the one person in the family that everyone blames all the problems on and everyone thinks is the problem. And really it's just the family is made up of people who are afraid of the narcissist, who are loyal to the narcissist, or who also have the same traits of like projection and not being able to see clearly. And so, obviously, if you feel disconnected in your family and you're the scapegoat, you're in an abusive environment, you're in an abusive system. And so, it's not actually you that's the problem, it's the environment and the system that you're in that is the problem. And of course, if a narcissist rules a system, it's going to reward people that please the narcissist or are like the narcissist. And we all know this is what narcissists do. They surround themselves with people that are like them. And narcissistic managers do this as well. They screen for people who are like them. They screen for fellow managers who are like them. Because if you have a corrupt agenda and you want to like sit around on your phone and not do a good job, you need to get with people who also have their own corrupt agendas, or else you're not going to be able to do what you want to do as a narcissist in a power position. Do you know what I mean? And narcissists aren't going to be able to get away with narcissistic management in a healthy environment. So I know that not everyone can just leave their job or like switch to new environments, but yeah, thank you for listening. My name is Abigail Ellington. Have a beautiful, magical day.